Good morning and welcome. My name is Spencer Coca. I'm an associate at Schoharie Economic Enterprise Corporation. I'm joined by two of my associates and Josh Kilmer-Purcell, the co-founder of Beekman 1802. Today we'll be talking about the interesting story of how Josh and his partner Brent have built Beekman 1802 from small soap operation in their kitchen to a Mercantile in Sharon Springs, and then now into a multinational skincare brand. So thank you for joining us today, Josh. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me, Spencer.
Thank you. You want to tell us a little bit about Beekman and some of your story?
Yeah. First of all, Beekman is, as you mentioned, a skincare company, and we're a skincare company powered by goat milk that feeds your microbiome. And the core DNA of our company has always been kindness. And the reason kindness has always been a part of it is because our company was founded on what we say was an original act of kindness. And Brent and I were two New York City guys. Brent was a physician. I was an advertising guy and a writer. And we were driving in upstate New York in 2006 and stumbled across this little town called Sharon Springs. We fell in love with it. We saw a farm on the outskirts of town that was for sale. We bought that farm. And originally it was just going to be a weekend place, kind of a getaway for us and our friends. And right after we bought it, we got a letter in our mailbox from a guy named John Hall. People know him as Farmer John, amazing local dairy family. And he was losing the place where he was farming, and he needed a place to bring his goats. And he knew we had an empty farm. So he wrote us this letter asking if he could come. And that was what we say was the original act of kindness, John joining us with his goats. And it was just very fortuitous because just a year and a half later, the big recession hit in 2008. And Brent and I lost our jobs in the city. And we literally Googled, what can we make with goat milk? And so John, us, another neighbor, amazing soap maker people know, Deb McGillicuddy, we started making soap and started wrapping it around our dining room table with our neighbors helping us, and learned how to code a website, learned how to take product photography, learned how to do Google advertising, learned everything ourselves. And we, as we say, we grew the company neighbor by neighbor by neighbor based on acts of kindness.
That's an incredible story. So I just have a few questions for you about how did you get from working with friends and neighbors, wrapping soap around your dinner table to then moving into a retail space and then further down the line doing TV shopping and then bringing that whole network
Mm-hmm.
international? Because that's an incredible story from point A to point B, and it's honestly a very short period of time in which you've grown this business.
Well, it doesn't feel short. But yes, we consider ourselves very fortunate. Of course, we work very hard. Just to give people context, we did go from that dining room table to now we are I guess we're the world's largest goat milk beauty company, and we sell in Ultas all around the country. We're in the United Kingdom, we're in Australia, we're in Canada, we're expanding into other parts of Europe. We have over 10,000 retail partners in America alone, independent shops, as well as Ulta. And then we got our first round of outside investment last year from a European private equity group. So it has been a really big journey for us, but it was very slow going in the beginning because we really did grow neighbor by neighbor by neighbor. So many businesses these days, they watch shows like Shark Tank or read investment newsletters and think that the key, the golden ticket is to find a large investor or angel investor or friends and dump a whole bunch of money in so that you can start a business. We did not do that. I'm not saying that's not one viable way to do it. A lot of people do that, but a lot of those fail quickly too. A lot of business people live by the rule of fail fast. We didn't. We grew slowly. We had enough money to buy one batch of soap from Deb McGillicuddy. And then when we sold that batch, we had enough money to buy 2 batches of soap from Deb McGillicuddy. And from 2008 until about 2015, we were just growing that way organically. You know, make $2, put $1 back in the business. Make $3, put $2 back in the business. We were fortunate along the way to get a lot of press attention. You know, here were 2 gay New York City guys learning how to be good goat farmers in upstate New York. So we got a lot of TV mentions. We got a lot of PR about that. So that certainly helped us grow. And then in 2015, we got a call from a television retail channel. It's called Evine. It was the 3rd place channel after QVC, HSN, and Evine. And they asked us to come on, tell our story, and sell some soap. And that was kind of our very first big jump. So we could not produce that amount of soap. Deb McGillicuddy could not produce that amount of soap anymore. So we started to look for manufacturers. We found a company to license our beauty license so that they could help fund the inventory we needed for that. And that was our very first big step, was TV retail. And we went at that point from about a $4 million company to a $15 million company that 1 year. And then after Evine, we were successful on that channel. So we went to HSN and QVC, which are of course the big guys, and just continued to grow, you know, exponentially by that. But it really was earn $1, invest $1, earn $1, invest $1, until the point where we got to TV retail, where we did do some debt financing with banks. Still did not take on investment, but we felt comfortable taking on debt to boost our inventory and our growth. And then finally last year, as I said, to 2021, so what is that, 11, 12, 13 years after we started, that's when we got an investor and have been able to, you know, really double down on our growth.
That's really great. And now, how did you find your distributor? Once you got to that TV shopping point where you couldn't produce enough in-house, how did you find that business that would
Partner
produce
with us.
your soap and distribute your soap? How did you find them?
Yeah, I mean, we were a bit fortunate. They found us, but you know, before we partnered with them, we were approached by other companies, other manufacturing, and this, you know, it exists in most any industry, whether you're producing food or you're producing crafts, or for us, you just have to sort of get into the community of whatever your business is. So we knew we were in the beauty business, and you know, there were shows, conferences, and trade shows, and we just had to start learning about that world. And this company found us because they had just been reading about us and seeing us. But I mean, the other path to go would be to do trade shows, and if you're a product oriented company growing, go find out where the trade shows and the trade conferences are, and just go make yourself known. We didn't plan this. We didn't go out and looking for a partner. We had no idea really how we were going to grow if this wasn't a business plan. We just took the opportunities as they came along, and didn't say no to anybody. You know, if somebody had an idea, because maybe some people remember we were also growing a food business at the time, a home decor business at that time. And any one of those could have taken off. Any one partner could have found us, but the right partner turned out to be a beauty partner. So we really focused our efforts there.
That's really interesting. It's a great story. What were some of the greatest hurdles that came up during this expansion, this growth, and how did you overcome them?
The greatest hurdles for any small business entrepreneur is to work, the amount of work. If you don't have money, you have to work. And Brent and I were very fortunate that we had each other. So at least, we were a team. But that had its drawbacks too. Being married to your business partner is, it doesn't make for great vacations and and things like that. But the hurdle was our company was always seemed to the outside world a little bit bigger than it was. So we would, in our marketing, many people locally may remember we had large festivals where 10,000, 20,000 people would come to town. We had our TV show, we had a magazine. So these things, we were marketing initiatives for us to get the word out. But in essence, it made the company look bigger than it was, when it was really just myself, Brent, Megan, Maria, Pete, really a handful of people that were running this company that looked 3, 4, 5 times as big as it was. So you had to put the work in to run a company that looked really large while there was only a few of you behind the scenes trying to grow into that growth. So I think that's a challenge. Is if you aren't taking investment, you're never going to have enough resources. And the old saying, fake it till you make it, is honestly true. I mean, just try to walk into a room and make everybody believe you're bigger than you are, and then they will believe in you and partner with you.
That's great advice. It's great advice. It's really interesting. And then I think I want to go back and touch on.
I have one story about that, actually. So we had the TV show, we were on Evine, we had the books and the magazine and all that, and Brent went to a doctor's appointment at the Sharon Springs Ellis clinic there. Went to a doctor's appointment. He went to pay, and his card wouldn't go through, and he checked the balance. This was probably 2017, 18. Checked the balance of our bank account, and it was $2.48. And at the time, everyone thought, oh my gosh, there's this huge business, and they're on TV, they're doing this, they're doing that. Yeah. And we had never paid ourselves a dime, and we had $2.48, and we could not pay the copay on his yearly checkup. And but that's sort of that's sort of what I'm saying. You make your company look very big and very successful, and our company was successful. But we were always keeping our resources one step behind its size so that we could continue to invest in the growth.
That's really an interesting model, and that's a very great story that I think a lot of people can relate to in terms of growing their businesses. It's really cool to see how something so small, with hard work and dedication and faking it until you make it, can turn into something so incredible. Mm-hmm. I want to go back because you mentioned that you just received your first batch of financing in your 13 mm-hmm. years as a business. I just wanted to ask you, how were you able to source that financing? What was the process like? Do you have tips for small businesses that might want to go in the same direction?
Yes, it really was a giant learning curve for us because we were not aware. You always hear of venture capital, private equity, but it's a whole different world, and they work in different ways. And there's a lot of not great players in that world, especially if you're at a small scale. So we were fortunate enough that we had a CEO who was from the company that we merged with that had the beauty license that allowed us to grow. So the head of that, young guy, great guy, partnered, we grew it together, but he had a Wall Street background. And so he knew how to do it. And he found, if people really don't have any idea how to do it, because we didn't have any idea how to do it, but you have to create your deck with your business plans and your 5-year growth. Find a bankers that deal in acquisitions, mergers, investments. And then generally they will go find the investors for you, and the bankers sort of negotiate the deal. You know, they go out and find the players and negotiate the deal. And the people who are willing to invest can be anything from private equity to family offices. Very wealthy families have their own investment offices. Or of course, you can just take a loan from the bank, which is a different way of doing it. But so I really didn't know how to do it. But it was luckily that we had Tomei that was able to start this process. And that's what it's called, the process. So really
Excellent.
Getting all of your loose strings tied up financially, reporting wise, having all of your, knowing what all your margins are, your EBITDA and all those things that as a small business owner, you're like, oh, whatever, I'll figure it out tomorrow. I just got to concentrate on sales. Really tightening up the books then gives you this package that can then go out.
Incredible. So making sure that you have all your numbers, making sure that you have partnerships and people who know what they're doing, and really emphasizing the skills that each of your employees have and using those to your benefit.
Absolutely. And if you don't know, I mean, you can be a snow removal company, a landscape company, a candy maker, all of which are great businesses I know in Sharon Springs already. If you don't know what your next step is, what we always say is find your competition, some of your competition that's bigger than you, and just research what they did, and reach out to them. This is the other thing. Some of our, even to this day, our competitive skincare companies, brands as big as L'Oreal, some of their brands, we meet with them regularly and exchange best ideas and best practices, and we're direct competitors. But don't be afraid to talk to your competitor. You might have something to offer them just as they're going to have something to offer you. Rising tide lifts all boats.
That's great. That's great advice. Taking advantage of general knowledge that everyone has and sharing it for the mutual benefit is always a great way of going about it. Outstanding. Now, that's all the questions I have for you. Maybe my associates have some other ones, but maybe take this opportunity. Do you have any exciting news from Beekman? Do you have anything you'd like to share with people in terms of final remarks or life advice?
I mean, I speaking to people in Schoharie in the region, I hope people, one of the things that we always wanted Beekman to do was to be able to grow, but stay connected to the region. And one of the things we learned early on was that we were going to have to compromise in some way. We could not have grown this company if we had only based it in Sharon Springs. We were not able to recruit top talent from New York City. Unfortunately, families were not going to move to Sharon Springs. But what we did was we found, what does Sharon Springs have to offer and what can we keep in Sharon Springs? So things like the Mercantile, things like the warehouse that we have, things like the events in the farm that we can grow into its own profit center. Those are the things that are great in Sharon Springs. And then we expanded to Schenectady, and then where it was easier to recruit people and beyond. People were working remotely all around. But I think the key to growing in a small rural area is not thinking that every resource is going to be available, or if it's not available where you are, that you're going to have to build it yourself. You probably are going to have to go outside for other resources, but keeping a foot where you started is always beneficial, not just to you, but to your brand and your company and your employees. We have employees and all around the country, and the ones in California, Arizona, Florida, they all feel like Sharon Springs is the home of the company, even whether or not they've been here before. So I think that's something to remember for rural. You don't have to solve all of your problems in the one spot. And as far as exciting news, we're opening our new store in LaGuardia Airport, which is amazing. Delta Airlines wanted to choose a New York local company to feature, and of all the companies in New York City and all that, they chose Beekman to feature in the airport. So we're really proud of that.
That's incredible news.
Yeah,
I'm sure that'll be a great way for Schoharie to get a face in to all international travelers coming into the country.
exactly.
We do have one question from my associate. This has to do with how was the transition going into a larger retail such as Ulta? How did that work, and um, really how did that help your growth as well?
Yep. So when we went into Ulta, and of course we had to, get a meeting with Ulta and pitch Ulta, and we used our successes at HSN and QVC to, as our calling card. And what we found is large retailers really want great small brands. I mean, they desperately, everyone, we worked with Target for a while, worked with other large retailers. They want small brands with great stories. They really do. The hard part is to be really honest with yourself, and we have to be really honest with ourselves. Can we supply in Ulta? Can we supply a QVC? Because the minute they're out of inventory or we don't deliver, they're going to find another small brand. So we had to be really honest and really thoughtful about how we proceeded with them. But again, we figured it out. We knew what we were going to do. They helped us tremendously, point out pitfalls that they'd had with other small brands, and together we did not launch it until we knew it was going to be a success. So that's what we did with Ulta. And now we've rolled out. I think we started at 450. I think we're in 700 some doors, and then I think we'll be in all doors sometime next year.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Sounds like the best thing to do is working closely with the people you're working with and sharing advice back and forth to make sure that everyone's happy and everything is, and being honest with yourself about what you can actually handle is important.
Yep, absolutely.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much, Josh, for joining us today. We appreciate your time and all that you've done for Schoharie County. We look forward to speaking with you again in the future, and thank you so much.
Likewise, thank you for all you're doing, and we're so grateful for everything Schoharie has done for us since the day we stumbled into town 14 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any way, if people are interested in any opportunities, are there any contact information or ways to reach out if people want advice or reach out in any way?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, if anybody's needs, we're looking for career opportunities on our website. There's at the bottom, we're always hiring. And if you have ideas about partnership or working together, then reach out on LinkedIn is usually a great way to do it. Find somebody from Beekman 1802 on LinkedIn and they'll get back to you.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.